Hi, this is Quinn, and welcome to Quinn Tech. So in this episode, I want to do something a little bit different than what I've been doing lately. I've been playing a lot of Atari games from the system that my friend Adam gave me back in Albuquerque, back in 1999 in April. And, well, this is something that I collected on my own prior to that. I think in 1998 is when I acquired these items, maybe 97. And what it is the Sega Saturn. So the Sega Saturn has kind of a troubled history if you follow anything about games, about gaming systems. It came out in 1995, and at the time they had just released the CD, the 32X. They had just released the 32X for an add-on to the Sega Genesis, which had come out in 1989. So it was already a 6-year-old system, and they were trying to put this add-on to it. They'd come out with the Sega CD a couple years before that, which I actually really liked the Sega CD, and I loved the Genesis. And the 32X, it was okay. It wasn't great. It sort of fancied up the graphics a little bit, but it wasn't like mind-blowing or anything. So this infamous moment, the head of the US Sega of America made this statement at CES that, I don't remember the exact wording, but it basically said, we don't care about the 32X. The Sega Saturn is already out. So, and I could have that completely wrong. It could have been like a couple years later when he said we are no longer supporting. He basically said we are no longer supporting this product because we have come out with another product that we are supporting, and all you schmucks that bought this item for big bucks, and I think it was the 32X. Like the 32X, when it first came out, it cost like $150 or something like that. And this was in 1995. And that was a lot of money back then. Like, you think about $150 today, like, might be scratch, like nothing, you could just throw it away. But in 1995, $150, that was like 2 weeks' paycheck at a minimum wage job or something. So you really had to save up for this thing unless you were like, had the cush job. But the funny thing is, like, I worked for Blockbuster Video back at that time in I guess it was in 94. And that's when I completed my Sega Genesis system. I had the Model 1 Sega Genesis, and then I got the Model 2 Sega CD. I'd had friends that had the one that ejects out, but I had the top loader. And then the 32X came out, and I think I bought that. I don't think I paid full price. I think I might have waited till the price dropped, but originally it was like $150, and then within a short few months, they were trying to give that thing away for about like $25 or $50, like 1/3 or less of the price of the original, maybe $29.99. That might have been what I paid for. I don't know, but I had the full stack with the Model 1 Sega Genesis and the Model 2 Sega CD and the 32X. And I'd bought a few games for it, and right when I was about to leave Charlotte in 1994, I sold it to a friend of mine, and we agreed on a price, and he gave me a down payment, and you know how those things go. Sometimes a friend promises you, oh, I'm going to pay you back later on I'll give you payments, and sometimes it doesn't work out. But this actually worked out with my friend Steve, and he gave me the down payment, and I gave him the Sega Genesis CD32X system, and I had bought just like maybe 2 or 3 games for the 32X. I think one of them was Dragon's Lair. I bought Star Wars Arcade, and I can't remember what the third one was. It might have been the one that came with it. Or no, that was with the Sega CD. My Sega CD came with Sewer Shark, and I had like 2 or 3 Sega CD games and a few cartridges. So, anyway, after I moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico, I was like, oh, I miss that system, and I ended up buying another Model 1 Sega Genesis, and I bought a bunch of games for it, cartridges, and most of them I bought used from like either, there were a few stores, but Blockbuster and a few other rental houses and other places, they would sell their games used, but they would usually come with at least the clamshell box and the cartridge. Some of them I think didn't, and sometimes you would actually get the manual with it, but that wasn't that common. But I had some with the manual, so I had quite a few games for that even. So I had, like, some of the highlights that I can remember were Shadow Dancer, which was basically Shinobi 2, and then I had Shinobi 3, and I had Samurai Showdown, which all my friends dubbed Samurai Slowdown, because compared to the arcade version, it was very slow. But that was the game that got me into fighting games, Samurai Showdown, in the arcade on the Neo Geo. So I was never like a huge Street Fighter fan. I didn't hate Street Fighter. I was introduced to the genre by Samurai Showdown because I was into like anime and samurai cinema, and they all had swords, and it was called Samurai Showdown, it was called Samurai Spirits in Japan, but in America they call it Samurai Showdown, and not even spelled correctly, not SHOWDOWN. It was spelled SHODOWN. I don't know why they did that, but I guess, I don't know. Maybe because they were Japanese, they didn't know how to spell it. Anyway, so I had that, and another one of my prizes that I had at the time, which I played with a friend of mine quite a few times, 2-player, was Gunstar Heroes, which, if you know anything about the Sega Genesis, you know that was one of the top games for the Sega Genesis. And I bought it used at either a Blockbuster, or there was this store called Hastings in Albuquerque where they sold books and media. It was kind of like the Media Play before there was a Media Play, and I think that's where I bought that. But it could have been at a Blockbuster or a Hollywood Video or one of those when they were doing their closeout sales. So, anyway, a couple years after that, I bought this Sega Saturn, which you can kind of see the side of the box right here. And at the time, they had it on discount. I think I bought the system, and I got all the peripherals on discount, but the games and the cartridge, which was called the Action Replay Plus, those I paid top dollar for. I spent a few $100s on them. So I'm going to show off my system here, and maybe in another video later. I've been talking too much, and my last video ran almost an hour just playing some Atari games, so I just wanted to do sort of an overview and show off what I had. So you can sort of see it here, but I'll show it in close-up here in a second. And thank you again for coming along with me on Quintech Retro. And this is one of the retro systems I have that I'm passionate about, and I hope you are too. If you're not passionate about it, that's up to you. This is my channel, and this is what I like. So if you don't like it, give me a thumbs down. If you do like, give me a thumbs up. And if you like this channel, subscribe. And if you have any questions, comment. And, well, thank you once again. Thanks for coming along on my journey. Take care. Good night. So I guess I'm trying to be a little bit of a show-off. This is the Sega Saturn system that I have kept since, I think, 1997 or 98 is when I bought these. Of course, the actual system came out in 95, so I bought them a couple years later when they were on closeout, when the prices went down. But I'll tell you what, these games that you're seeing and the Action Replay Plus Cartridge were not cheap. I had to buy these from like a specialty gaming a game store when I lived in Albuquerque. They specialized in imports and more obscure game gear. I mean, they had all the domestic stuff, but they charged, you know, a pretty penny for the imports, but probably a lot less than I'd have to pay for what I have right now. So I have the original Action Replay Plus. It still has the little connector on the top. I think it's a parallel. It might be serial, but I think it's parallel. And supposedly there's some software that you can like update it, but it works fine. And what this does, this gives you the 4 megabytes of updated memory, plus it also lets you play the import games on a domestic system, a US domestic system. So you could play Japanese games on this system, which is mostly what I have. And I don't have that many discs. I have 5 discs. One came with this box, which comes with the little gun. And the rest are all imports from Japan. So, but all my peripherals are domestic. I've heard this control pad, the Japanese version, is much better. It works a lot better. And then I have the Sega Saturn system here. And I still have all the original boxes. I mean, who does that? Like this, I didn't just buy this off of an eBay lot a couple of weeks ago. I've held on to this since 1998. And I remember I went to this store, and I used to have a lot of US releases, which came in these like kind of larger boxes, like the original PlayStation. There was like this big thing that stood about this tall compared to that. It was about 2.5 times as tall. And it had the disc in it. And one of them I had back then, before I sold them, was Mystaria, which was later renamed Blazing Rangers or something like that. They had to rename the game because they got sued by the people behind Dungeons and Dragons, SSI, I believe, is what happened. And they had to change the name of the game, which was Mystaria, to some other title, and I had that original game. But back in the early 2000s, new stuff was coming out. Actually, I think most of what I used those for was in trade at a game store. I don't think it was GameStop. It was some other kind of chain game store. And I traded them for credit to buy Neo Geo Pocket games, which I have a Neo Geo Pocket, which Neo Geo Pocket Color, because there was the Neo Geo Pocket, which was black and white, and then the next year they came out with the Neo Geo Pocket Color, which is a handheld that came out in the late 90s that sort of rivaled the Game Boy. It was before the Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy Advance kind of blew it out of the water, but the Neo Geo Pocket Color was a cool system, and it was made by SNK, the makers of King of Fighters and all kinds of other great hits from back in the day. And I even have over here, I have King of Fighters 97. So these games that I own, I only have 5, are some of the most coveted games besides this one down here. And some people might like it, but I don't care for it so much, but it's okay. But yeah, I have some of the most coveted CDs for the Sega Saturn system, plus the Virtua Cop in the full box that came with the disc and the gun, which is inside there. And then I have the Action Replay Plus, and I have not one but 2 analog controllers, plus the arcade controller. And when I bought these, I bought them it was at this mall store. I went to a mall store, so a friend of mine told me about it. He's like, you got to go there because they're doing this deal. If you buy a game, you get a free peripheral. So I bought like 4 or 5 games, and I was like, well, I want these 4 or 5 peripherals. And they were like, oh, well, we got to save these for other people. Well, if that's not what the sign said. And maybe I took a little bit of advantage, but I got this, and this. I believe I got those for free because I bought a reduced price game. So anyway, I just wanted to show you just the overview of what my Sega Saturn collection is, and that I held on to it for all these years. And then in just a minute, I'm going to plug everything up and show it to you. This system, the Sega Saturn, I did actually install back in the early 2000s, around 2002 or 3, I think, maybe 2004, somewhere in the early 2000s. I bought a chip, which they call the what do they call it? I chipped it. I unlocked it so that I could play burned games. So yes, I have a lot of burned games for the system, and I don't feel terrible about it. I mean, it didn't kill the system. This was like in 2001 or 2, so the system was already dead by then. It came out in 95. The sales dried up in 97. I think that's around the time that the company Sega gave up on it because they were about to come out with the Dreamcast, which is also one of my favorite systems as well. But yeah, so I chipped it, And it was this, like, at the time, they didn't have YouTube videos to show you how to do it. You had to look at all these little schematics and like photographs and figure out what you were doing. And luckily, this one didn't require any soldering at the time. You just had to, like, pull something out. You had to unscrew the entire machine and pull a couple things out and maybe put, like, a ribbon cable or a wire next to something and then press it down so that it, like, the wire connected. I don't remember exactly how it worked, but something like that. And that allowed me to play burn games. So after that, that's when I think I sold all my games, because I could just download them and have them for free. And I could make credit on them to buy new games, cartridges for this Neo Geo Pocket system. So I just wanted to show off this, and I hope you enjoy this content. And I'm going to move on, and I'm going to plug this system up. Unfortunately, Virtua Cop, it has the light gun, comes with the light gun, and you need a CRT television. It doesn't work on newer TVs. I've heard this rumor that if you put saran wrap over your screen, it might work or something like that. I don't know. I would have to investigate that to, like, confirm that truth. But for now, I don't think I can use this gun, which I really like. It's called the Stunner, and it's orange, which is kind of stupid, but that's what happened in the mid-90s when kids kept getting shot for carrying around toy guns. They had to make every gun like some neon color or some weirdness. But I still have the game. Unfortunately, I can't play it. I've heard you can play it actually with a controller, so I might try that out. And then I have a few other games, which are all imports besides that one. So I will come back to this, and thanks for watching. Alright, goodbye.